Alright, continuing on from what I was saying. Let me stick my headphones in. Hopefully you can hear me. Check. How wide was the lump when you found it? It was 14 millimeters. What was it like going to breast cancer? What was it like going to a breast cancer ward? Were you alarmed it was breast cancer? No. I had no preconceptions of good or bad cancers. All cancers are bad. Luckily, I'm not too bothered about what people think. So if anyone's thought anything about it being breast cancer and thought anything, never even crossed my mind. There was a few interesting perspectives on it. I spoke to a few different people. I spoke to some people that had actually been through cancer themselves, and one guy in America was saying he kind of like wears the cancer survivor as like a badge of honor. And he actually said it was a lot easier than to get through it than what people kind of thought. He had a testicle removed when he was 21. He's like 43 now. Another lady I spoke to in America, she was determined that surviving cancer wasn't going to shape her identity, so she kind of like shifted away from it as soon as possible. One of the neighbours here, he was like 70 years old. He had a lung removed, had lung cancer, and even he's like, well, yeah, it happened, moved on. Only got one lung now. Yeah. So I don't think you've got a lot of choice. I think you need to just kind of like, when you're in the middle of it, as with any crisis in your life, is try and deal with it the best you can, and then move on. So I had the op on the 30th of August and stayed in overnight. Because I've not had a conversation with you, Lauren. You won't know because I've not had a conversation with you, but it was actually really good. It was a good experience going into the hospital, being looked after, obviously coming out the other end well. But yeah, I mean, I was focusing on getting my hot buttered toast and a cup of tea after the operation, which was about 5 o'clock at night. I hadn't ate or drank anything since midnight, so it was like 17 hours without anything. I'd had a slurp of water, so that was quite enjoyable. But then one of the ladies in the ward kind of like popped her head around the door and said, "Look, do you want to come in the ward and have a chat with all the ladies?" So after Claire had been and with a bag of M&S food for me, so it could kind of like stuff my face. I went into the ward with all the ladies, and I was chatting to them, and then the night nurses came on at like 8 o'clock. So yeah, we were sat around and talking till about 11. And obviously we were sharing notes of what we've been doing with our diet and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, there was a really old lady who seemed to be quite ill, so it was actually quite a noisy night on the wards. I didn't sleep particularly great, even though I was in my own room. But yeah, Claire picked me up the next day, left, and obviously we were hoping that was going to be the end of it. I had to wait another 2 weeks, so it was I want to say 5th of September. It was the 5th of August. I went in and got the diagnosis. It was the 30th. I had the operation, and then I went back in on the 16th of September. It was 16th of September. Went in and sat around. Again, I didn't have any preconceived ideas of whether the cancer had spread or not. I was a lot calmer than getting the original results. Had no idea whether they were going to say it spread and that I'd need chemo, or whether it hadn't spread, we'd caught it early enough. Had no idea what they were going to say, so I kind of like was just sat there with I wasn't worried. I was kind of just waiting for the news, so I thought it's not worth getting myself upset. And then the consultant came in, his phone went, we were left in the room. I took the top off, and the Macmillan nurse had said, she put a thumbs up and said, "Look, it's good news. Don't worry." So obviously she'd already found out on Thursday night. I think it was a Thursday night. So the consultant came in. He took off my the steri strips, kind of like stitches, and on my where the operation had been, and he's like, "Are you going to take a look?" And I was like, "No." I wondered whether looking at this scar was going to be a bit traumatic for me, but actually had a look. It was okay. Got no nipple. I'm still here, so wasn't using it for much. I think they were pleased. Obviously, we were discussing this whether they must have to give a lot of bad news out on that clinic, so it must be quite nice for them to be able to give some good news out and know that what they did was, worthwhile and essentially save someone's life. Although that's what happened, it kind of sometimes doesn't feel like that because I didn't die. It sounds daft, but it's kind of like I don't know if it had gone the other way. I'm now in this reality where it went this way, and I got the all clear, and everything's fine. So it's very hard to imagine. Well, obviously, I can't imagine being dead, but it's hard to imagine if it had gone the other way, and now I would have basically this week I would have been starting chemo for probably 2 months, 3 months, because I know obviously we know people now who are starting the treatment. So yeah, I am very lucky. I did. There was a guy on. There was something about. I think it was Cancer Awareness Week, and this guy had cancer twice, and so I've got something in my bloody eye. He'd had cancer twice, and actually he'd been suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. And also he mentioned having survivor's guilt, which apparently, well, I say apparently, I've seen it in films where there's a plane crash and everyone dies except a couple of people, and then the people that survived have a guilt hanging over them because they didn't die. And I wonder whether I was going to be suffering from that to a certain extent. I think after having the all clear, I've not had any major emotional kind of like release or outburst or reaction. I've been quite kind of deadpan, and the only way I can kind of like kind of I imagine I'm still trying to process what's happened, because obviously I was talking to someone the other day and I was like, it was literally like 2 months ago, got diagnosed, 1 month ago, had an op, 2 weeks later, all clear. I'm like, that's happened so quickly, which is all credit to the NHS. But of course, there's a person on the behind that, and of course, I'm trying to be strong and supportive for Claire and Evie, and carry on as normal. But I mean, I haven't. The day I went in on the 27th of July, I stopped work. So one of your questions was how has it changed your way of life? Well, I like to think I'm not a risk taker, but I don't follow the traditional route of 9 to 5 job, wanting a paycheck, and all these other kind of like things that most people think they need, because you don't. And the more I've read, I've kind of like learned this, and I want to share. This is kind of like a bit of a mission, and has been for a while. That I want to like share alternatives to the going to university and then getting a job for 35 years and hating every day you go in and despising your boss and worrying about money and all this kind of stuff. And I want to share a different perspective where you can do whatever you want when you want to do it, and help more people, and hopefully get more fulfillment out of life. So there was something else I was going to mention. Oh yeah, so when I got on the 27th of July, when I got the initial diagnosis, although it wasn't a diagnosis, I was doing obviously my web design work, but I was running around like an idiot. I was doing really, really cheap websites, really high quality work for next to nothing, and I knew at the time it wasn't what I shouldn't be doing it. But of course, you need money. You've got to pay the bills. So I was like, right, I'll do it. And I was a busy fool. I was doing a lot of work for not much reward. So when I got the diagnosis, I just emailed everyone and said, look, I'm not carrying on. and here's the ultimate excuse. So, and no one argued with me. In fact, some guy was like half finished the job. I mean, actually, it was more than that. I'd nearly finished it. I just said, look, I'm not going to carry on. And so he only paid me half the money for that. He didn't even offer to pay me any of the money. It was a bit crap, really. But now I want to completely set myself on a different kind of route to serving businesses and helping people online. You know, I'm still falling into the trap of like doing high quality work cheap for not much money, but I'm trying to make sure I don't keep doing it. The diet thing, the household now is very aware of our diet. Plus the medication I'm on, I've got to be aware of. I can't sit around for too long because I'm at risk of deep vein thrombosis, which could, you probably know, but if I get a blood clot in my leg, and then it kind of travels up my body, it could go into my lungs, and obviously that's not good. Or it could go anywhere, heart, brain. I think that'd kill you. So I've got to keep moving, keep hydrated, can't drink too much. Like I said, I've been on the medication now for nearly three and a half weeks. Not any major noticeable side effects. I'm still a bit tired. So yeah, I mean, I think I've been very, very lucky. I've come out the other end, and it's kind of over. I'm actually going on Monday to see a cancer counsellor, and I'm going to bring up the survivor's guilt and the having everything happen so quickly, whether that's good or bad. I think I just need to process these things, and me personally, I like to talk about them. So I'm kind of looking forward to talking about what's going on in my head. I've got a similar to what you've had. I've had on Wednesday. I've got an allergy test thing to see if I'm allergic to any food or substances or stuff like that. So I'll let you know. That'll be after Wednesday. What do you want people? What do you want to do to make people aware? I don't know whether I mentioned this already, but the biggest shock for me was some of the people on the ward who were having lumpectomies. I think they were all lumpectomies. The ladies who knew they were starting chemo actually hadn't told their friends and family. I found that quite shocking, because obviously I'd been completely transparent and told everyone everything, what I was going through, what I was thinking when it was happening. And I imagine that must be really, really hard. They were convinced by not telling people it'd be easier for them to handle it. I don't. Obviously, there's no way of knowing. Doing it the other way, which is the best way. All I would say is, like, one of the other ladies who did tell her friends and family was getting an awful lot of support, and people were rallying around and helping them. So I just worried that keeping it to yourself was just a very, very bad thing. I think you need to get it out into the open and make more and more people aware, because of course, like one guy I spoke to down south, he was my kind of like cancer buddy through breast cancer care. I spoke to him 3 times. He was 69. He found the lump, didn't react to it, and then 3 months later, his wife then noticed it, and he went to the doctors, and it was grade 3 cancer. Mine was only grade 2, and he had the full works. He had a real hard time. He had the chemo, radiotherapy, purely by waiting those 3 months. And he said there was a noticeable growth in it, because of course on a flat-chested man you are gonna notice a lump growing. So he did notice it, and he did ignore it. So I mean, it could have killed him. It's as simple as that, and it's something like 50,000. Obviously, 50,000 women get diagnosed every year with breast cancer. 300 men. It's like 1,000 or 3,000 women a year die from it. So it's a big chunk of people who are either not noticing or not reacting, or didn't notice and it was too late, or so I mean, obviously we had a period where we were just telling everybody, shopkeepers, anyone we were speaking to, about, if you find a lump, get it checked out. And I think I'd gone onto Facebook and said the same thing. If there's something that it pops into your head, I need to get it checked, but I'll leave it, get it checked. It's as simple as that. Evie, obviously the weather was a bit nicer in August. Evie wasn't in school, so most of the time what we were doing was I was sleeping a lot, actually, but we were in the garden on the trampoline playing football for hours. Physical exercise, really good for you for your well-being. Obviously she's not asking me anything about what's going on, what isn't going on, why is this different. She just wants to have a fun time. Yeah, how did Evie keep me positive? I think the key was don't worry about the past, don't worry about the future, just kind of like just get on with what you're getting on with. Evie is the best person I know who lives in the moment. Not that she's doing anything other than kind of keeping herself happy, but yeah, it's a good way to live. I mean, obviously it's been her birthday. She's got a stack of toys there. Not bothered in the slightest about it. She liked opening the toys, and then like they're all pushed to one side now. She just wants to like dance to a new CD she's got. So yeah, there's lots to be learned there. I'm hoping I've covered everything. I actually think that you need to learn to chat to people. I think this would have been a much more interesting conversation rather than just a recording of me talking. You'll get the best out of people, personally, I found, by listening to what they're saying and kind of like reacting to the things that they do say. So, and delving deeper, drilling down into what more details of something, because there may have been something I've said where you've gone, oh, actually, that what happened with, you know, any other cancer charities you've been in touch with, or, you know, more about the guy, the cancer buddy. You know, for instance, I've been in. Well, I'm going to do some fundraising for cancer research, and then they said, "Do you want to be a media volunteer?" So I've said yes. And then the other day, they rang up, very similar thing to yourself, where they interviewed me, got my story. They put it on their media pages, and then if anyone online wants to interview me, I'm saying I'm available. I'm giving them photos and stuff like that. And then like the Northwest Cancer Research Office have been in touch and said they might want to use me, because of course it's Cancer Awareness Month, October. So you never know what's going to come of that. So hopefully that's been useful. I'm going to edit it a little bit so you don't get a load of the drivel with me saying nothing. So good luck. I'd like to read a copy once you've finished it as well. Okay, thanks.